a trustee in Flossmoor, and she's running for re-election.
I am, and I'm delighted that I came out tonight. I know I have one Flossmoor person here. How many other Flossmoor folks? Wow, I'm delighted to see all of you out as well. Let me start by saying this. I am delighted that I came out, not so much because I get a chance to speak to you, but quite frankly, I'm even more encouraged than I was before. When I hear all the passion and hear all the commitment and see all of the people in this room this evening who could be someplace else doing something else, for me, it's really encouraging. I also am encouraged because my predecessor sort of gave my conversation for the evening. As I think about Flossmoor, one of the things that we're noted for is isolation. We're noted for operating in a silo, sort of figuring out how to take care of ourselves and not really caring about our neighbors. But the truth of the matter is you don't have to have a good heart to care about your neighbors. You just have to have some common sense. Because at the end of the day, there is not going to be one community that survives. If we don't all survive, none of us will survive. And so it is extremely important that we do come together and build strategies and implementation plans that we can deliver to make that unity what it should be. I spend a lot of time for my job in Washington, D.C., and I spend a lot of time for my job in Springfield. And what I know is that those people who come with their acts together walk away with their hands full and their pockets full. And those people who come there ill-prepared and not with one voice walk away with nothing. And so we really do have to find a way to pool our thoughts, to pool our resources, and to know exactly what it is that we're going after so we know what success looks like. So it's sort of clear, it's concise, it's to the point, and we can sort of measure and, if you will, spend it in the ways that we know dollars need to be spent. We talk about Flossmoor schools, and we talk about them with a sense of pride. Let me tell you, we have our challenges. And those challenges are going to have to be addressed if we're going to continue to have value in our homes, just like you care about in other communities what goes on in your schools because of the kids and because of the values of your homes. Our issues are not different. We're all in the south suburbs. We are not Highland Park. At the end of the day, and that's exactly right, at the end of the day, if in fact all the rest of the communities in the south suburbs don't do well, Flossmoor's not going to do well. You can't do well just in one little spot. I run an organization, you heard real reference, I run the Safer Foundation in the state of Illinois. So we have somewhere in the neighborhood close to 400 employees that work with people who've gotten themselves in trouble with the law and who are trying to turn their lives around. So we help them to find work and to connect with families. So when you talk about a tough cause, I know what a tough cause looks like. It is not a poster child kind of a scenario where you're going to put that up and get the work that you need, the money you need to do the work. We have to prove that we can do the work, we have to do that work well, and then we have to communicate it. We have to do the same thing with our community. We have to decide what that work looks like, we need to do that work well, and then we need to communicate our results so that we get the next round of resources to do the next round of work. I really want to thank you again, like I said, for this opportunity to come out, to listen to you more than anything else, because I'm encouraged and I'm reminded that these issues are real, that these issues are not one-dimensional, they're multidimensional, and that these issues are everywhere. And let me just say this, I said we're not Highland Park. Trust me, they got their share issues too, they just look a little different. So I'm happy to take any questions that you might have for me. Yes.
Along the same lines of what Mr. Alsbury said, getting the various communities together. I moved to this area about 15 years ago from New Orleans, and I thought I had come from a place with a corrupt culture.
You did.
I did, but I think sometimes I went out of the pan and into the fire. Is there a way that the communities can work together? And I don't hate to say it, is there a way to, I don't think there's many Republicans in here today. I mean, there might be a few comments. But I look at Cook County, I look at the various communities, and sometimes I almost think there has to be an end run around the Democratic Party in Cook County. That we're our own worst enemies. I think, you know, I listen to the national news shows, and you know, the people who don't know much about Illinois talk about Blagojevich, and they even criticize Obama as being an old Cook County politician. He really wasn't. He had to run against the machine. He was not the chosen one, the anointed one by the machine in any instance. And I'm wondering if you can think of a way, and there may be people who are deep in the machine in this room, I don't know. But is there a way that, again, along the lines that Mr. Alsbury was talking about, to do things without the machine? Is there, can you think?
I would tell you that if you look at Flossmoor governmental structure, we don't have parties or slates. You don't represent a particular part of Flossmoor. You run throughout the village. And so, I mean, that really sort of takes some of the kind of stuff you're talking about out. Unfortunately, that's not true for a lot. So the question is do we want government reform? How badly do we want it? And what are we willing to go fight for? We know it's not going to get turned around in a day or a year even, if that is the agenda item, if it's to reform how it's structured in the south suburbs. But one of the reasons I was willing to run, because I never ever saw myself as an elected official. Never in my wildest dreams did it cross my mind that I would ever do this. But as I moved into Flossmoor about 11 years ago, and as I looked around me, there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of change in this community. I was concerned that people would leave this community and we wouldn't have a clue how to get things done. I didn't want that to happen. And I know that if you don't want something like that to happen, you have to be willing to invest yourself in that process to keep that from happening. I think that's true as we think about how we get beyond it. But I actually think that even though this structure may not be the structure we want to have, there's still progress that we can make. And I think that, I mean, and you know that though, the way that campaign was run for Barack Obama reminds us of our roots. It reminds us that if we band together as the people, there's little that we can't get done. It's when everybody's going in a different direction with a different goal that we can't get anything done. So I believe that there are people in every community in these south suburbs that would like to see improvement and progress. Doesn't mean that we're in horrible shape where we are today, but they want to see improvement and progress. And I think if we just acknowledge that, identify ourselves, and agree to do the work, then we can get it done.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Please excuse my ignorance. But it seems to me that since Illinois especially has gotten the, quote, home rule for all the towns no longer vote with the people. They don't ask you your opinion. They don't ask you to vote on it. They decide what they're going to do, and it's done. And I think that's where a lot of this is all, you know, it just, I mean, it went from bad to worse.
No, we don't have home rule
Right.
in Flossmoor. A town has to be of a certain population to declare itself automatically home rule. Otherwise, it has to be voted in by the people in that community.
And we voted it down.
There was an item up for vote in Flossmoor for home rule, and we voted it down. And many of my colleagues didn't support, or would not have supported my thoughts on that. I was not on the village board at that point in time. But I was one that said, I don't think we're ready for home rule. Home rule says that you can assign taxes without a vote. There are a number of things, and certainly you might have in place people that you believe in wholeheartedly, but there may not be the people in place all the time, and you can't just withdraw that home rule position because somebody changed in that spot.
Right.
And so, not every town,
says home rule.
but I think probably because is that because of size or because they voted it in?
No, they voted for it.
Okay, so the residents of that community voted that in.
And I will say that if you have home rule in your community, it is all the more imperative to stay on top
That's
of
exactly right.
your government. It really is.
That's exactly right. More questions? Thank you for this opportunity. I really look forward to working with you, and I ask you to work with me.